Are you looking for a magazine that can provide engaging and educational articles, purposeful and impactful advertising, and complete dedication to the Western New York community? Then you want Buffalo Healthy Living magazine. With over 200,000 print readers and over 35,000 digital readers, Buffalo Healthy Living is Western New York's largest free healthy living magazine for people of all ages. Focusing on health, fitness, nutrition, environment, business, and community, Buffalo Healthy Living is dedicated to providing well-written and timely articles and healthy tips to support a healthy lifestyle. Embracing the highest standards of corporate purpose, accountability, and transparency, Buffalo Healthy Living offers a positive social and environmental impact. Proud to be Western New York's premier free magazine for people of all ages, Buffalo Healthy Living writes about the topics that matter most to its readers. Find it at every area Wegmans and Tops, along with thousands of other locations throughout all 8 counties of Western New York. Interested in advertising? Contact 716-204-8881. Visit buffalohealthyliving.com or follow on Facebook and Twitter. Enjoy a healthier life with Buffalo Healthy Living magazine.
Hello, this is Marcia Brogan of Marcia Brogan Insurance Agency. We help create solutions to take your worries away, and I'm located at 5001 Genesee Street, Buffalo, New York, 14225. You can reach me at 716-684-6000 or marciabrogan.com.
Welcome to Western New York at Work with Dale Martin and Lauren Lewis. Join in on the conversation about sports, jobs, economic development, and the people who make it all happen. If you're interested in growing your business, understanding the latest trends in and around Western New York, then join the discussion at 803-1520. Now, here's Dale Martin and Lauren Lewis.
Good morning, Buffalo. Welcome to Western New York at Work, your business-friendly conversation live here at ESPN 1520, where we talk about sports, jobs, economic development, and always the people that make it happen. It's another one of those Sunday mornings here in Western New York at Work and throughout our community where, you know what, there's always something interesting happening in the city and definitely live in the studio with us. And as always, I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Lauren Lewis. Lauren, good morning.
Hi, Dale. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Good. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday, yes.
Another Bills Sunday.
Very excited.
The Browns. Hopefully you get a win today.
Yes. In fact, I know a lot of individuals that actually drove over to Cleveland for the game.
I know. I actually saw a tweet on Twitter, and someone tweeted, another reason 2019 is weird. There's a lot of Buffalonians excited to go to Cleveland.
A great city, but you know what? Today, I'm not a fan of Cleveland because I want the Bills to come back with the win.
Yeah, I think it is fun that it is such a close city for us, and the Bills are having such a great season so far. It's a great opportunity for a lot of Bills fans to go to a road game and really cheer on our team and bring that Bills Mafia spirit to Cleveland and show our team their support. It always helps them get those wins, especially on the road.
Absolutely. And also would like to say good morning to our producer Joe. Joe, good morning.
Good morning. Joe. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I am extremely tired, but I am ready to rock and roll today.
Okay. I see you rocking the Sabres hat, too.
Yes. The Sabres have been terrible lately.
I know. What's going on with them, Joe?
I never thought they were going to be good this year. I thought, because if you can recall to last year, something similar happened, and I didn't want to get my hopes up that much. So it looks like it's happening again, but the season is still pretty young. So
yeah, they got us excited early in the season when they were on their winning streak, and now it's
yeah, they've lost 5 in a row now.
How many losses in a row have they had?
5 in a row, and they've lost 6 of their last 7. So
okay.
I think they're in the second wild card spot.
Well, hopefully they turn it around soon.
I hope so. I can't take much more losing because this is getting very annoying.
To stay with that winning spirit, before we go to the sports update, I'd just like to recognize our guests and welcome them to Western New York at Work. We have our real estate guru.
No, insurance.
Oh, I said real estate. Okay, excuse me. Okay. I haven't had my call.
Our insurance guru.
Every now and then, there's a major mistake that happens. And you know what? I apologize because we have our insurance guru, the one and only Marcia Brogan. Marcia, I apologize, but welcome to Western New York at Work.
Thank you so much. It's nice to know that people think of me in all realms.
I was going to say, Marcia, I'm sure if you were in real estate, you'd be a real estate guru too. So
But insurance is the name of the game.
Do you want to smack the hand? Okay.
That's all right.
Yeah. But Marcia, you didn't come alone today.
No, I didn't. I brought with me another guru, Tanya Hollander from Russell Bond, and she is going to be talking with me today about directors and officers. Do you know that there are over 166,000 not-for-profits in New York State and over $440 billion in assets? So this is a very interesting topic. Tanya knows a lot about it. We're going to have a great discussion. So if you sit on a board, you're involved in a board, this topic is for you. So I'm really excited to introduce her in a minute.
Okay, fantastic. And with that being said, Tanya, just give us a brief bio of yourself.
I've been at Russell Bond and Company for 33 years, and all I do is handle professional and management liability.
Okay. All right.
So
So you sound like the guru in that field.
So we have two insurance gurus.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna write it down. Okay. Just like in class. Okay, Dale, repeat after me. Write it 5 times until you get it right. So, but no, we're gonna have a great conversation today. I think what you're going to be speaking on is so important for organizations. I had no idea that we had that many nonprofit organizations here. And so, so great. But without further ado, Joe, take it away. Let's find out what's happening in the world of sports.
Thanks, Dale. The Buffalo Bills are back on the field this afternoon as they are set to take on the Cleveland Browns at First Energy Stadium in Cleveland. The 6-2 Bills are coming into this game with a clean bill of health, as there are no major players that are expected to be out for today's game. Browns running back Kareem Hunt is expected to play today after serving a 9-game suspension for a domestic dispute last year. Kickoff for Bills-Browns is at 1, and you can catch the game live right here on ESPN 1520. Around the NFL, Dallas Cowboys wide receiver Amari Cooper is questionable for today's game against the Vikings, but is expected to play. The Baltimore Ravens have a couple key players who are also questionable today. Quarterback Lamar Jackson is questionable as he's dealing with an illness, and wide receiver Marquise Brown is questionable as well as he's dealing with an ankle injury. Jackson and Brown both expected to play for the Ravens. Detroit Lions quarterback Matthew Stafford has a back injury and is also questionable for today's game against the Chicago Bears. ESPN's Adam Schefter is reporting that Stafford has been told by some that he should not play today. To hockey, the Buffalo Sabres wrapped up their trip to Sweden for the Global Series on Saturday afternoon. Buffalo lost both games to the Tampa Bay Lightning. On Friday, they lost 3-2, where Sam Reinhart had 2 goals. And yesterday, they lost 5-3, goals from Sam Reinhart, Victor Olofsson, and Jack Eichel. It's been a rough stretch for the Sabres, as they've now lost 5 games in a row. Buffalo will be back in action on Thursday night at home against the Carolina Hurricanes for a 7 p.m. face-off. And you can listen live right on our sister station, WGR Sports Radio 550. Sabres have also been in the rumor mill recently. TSN's Darren Dreger reporting that the Sabres GM Jason Botterill is looking to add to their forward group, specifically a top 6 forward and a bottom 6 forward. WGR's Jeremy White has been hearing that the Sabres could be closing in on a trade for a forward from a Western Conference team. This sports update is brought to you by Bocce's Pizza. Enjoy the game with a slice of Bocce's. For ESPN 1520, I'm Joe Marino. Dale and Lauren, back to you.
Welcome back to Western New York at Work, live here at ESPN 1520 AM with Dale Martin and Lauren Lewis and the one and only Marcia Brogan. And for our listeners out there, we want you to join the conversation. So if you have a question or comment, please give us a call at 716-803-1520. Again, 803-1520. Marcia, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Dale. I'm really excited to have Tanya here with us today. Tanya and I have been together, working together for over 30 years in the business, in the insurance business industry. So when it comes to a question about directors and officers, the person that I go to who has seen a tremendous amount of claims and knows how to handle them and how to protect themselves is Tanya. And before I asked Tanya a couple questions. I just want to bring to the audience's attention that there's a lawsuit that the Attorney General, Lolita James, did, and it was for WesternNewYorkCharities.org, suing them because they misappropriated funds. And if it could happen to that type of an organization, it can happen to anyone. So Tanya, welcome so much. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, let's just start out right from the very basics for our listeners. What is directors and officers liability insurance?
Sure. Directors and officers liability is coverage that helps protect the people that sit on the board of directors in the event they're sued for things like mismanagement of funds, employment practices type exposures, discrimination, sexual harassment, failure to promote, that type of thing.
Okay, and who would need this type of coverage?
Anybody that sits on a board of directors, whether it be nonprofit or for-profit, needs to make sure that that entity carries the directors and officers coverage, because if they don't, it's their own personal funds that have to provide the defense.
Okay, so I'm going to give an example. Somebody that I knew sat on a board, and they did not have directors and officers insurance, and they were sued because the grant money that they received was supposed to purchase this, let's say, a van, and they didn't purchase the van. Instead, they used the money because they were low on funds and something else. Well, they were then brought up, like, where is this money? How did you use it? And because they didn't use it appropriately, they were sued. Because they didn't have directors and officers, that lawsuit, the defense costs, and everything were divided amongst the board members.
Wow.
Is that something that can happen?
Very easily, and happens all the time. The part to look at is it's not just the defense costs, but if they were successful in suing, now they have whatever settlement they may agree on. The average cost for an attorney that specializes in D&O is $400 an hour.
Wow.
So you want to take that out of your own savings account. I mean, I've heard of people that had to sell their homes.
And these are a lot of times are like they're sitting on boards. You
Right.
don't realize a lot of times that
Right.
how much liability you have by being on a board of directors.
Right. And not only that, if, like, some people sit on boards where there's 5 or 6, sometimes there's 18 or 20 people on a board. And as a board member, you are responsible for everybody's actions. So if the treasurer or someone else did something that was not right, and you were sued, you're responsible. Or for libel and slander, if they were to say something, you're responsible because you're working as a whole. You're not individual. So you have to be very careful when you sit on a board. Who exactly is on that board? Is anybody going to go rogue or do anything? Now, this will come up to another interesting part of the directors and officers is the employer practice liability, which is also can be sexual harassment. And as you know, this is a big push in New York. You have to have your sexual harassment training done.
Right now.
And if I know of someone that there was a sexual harassment lawsuit, they did not have the coverage. They did a settlement of $50,000, and the defense cost was $30,000. So it was $80,000 out of their pocket. If they had directors and officers, that would have been covered. So the directors and officers, Tanya, talk to us about the sexual harassment and how that affects it.
Sure. That's an interesting part, because what tends to happen sometimes is that one person got the $50,000 settlement. Now other people start saying, you know what, I didn't like how he rubbed my back, because they see the deep pockets, and then they bring their lawsuit. So it can trickle down. In addition to jumping back a little bit, what you said about the directors and officers, that you're responsible for everybody, it's not just that. You could be responsible for decisions that people made years ago, and it's just not discovered until now, and the suit's brought. So it's very far-reaching where your responsibility lies.
How can, if someone's sitting on a board of directors, how can they make sure that this not-for-profit that they're working with or this organization is covered, and you're not going to be liable for or sued for anything?
you would before you get on a board, you would inquire. You do your due diligence as a board member. You ask to see the bylaws of the board. You ask to see if there's directors and officers coverage. You even ask to see who else is on the board. Like I said, you are responsible. I was on one where this board member went rogue, and it was unbelievable. We actually had to call the police in to have him removed. So if he were to strike out or do something, and if you don't have directors and officers, and a lot of boards, correct me, Tanya, if you feel differently, a lot of them are small. They maybe only have 2 or 3 people on it, and they think, no, we can't afford it. We're just starting out. And the board members, they might not understand that this coverage is necessary, so they don't even know what to ask. It's up to the board to cover their directors and officers and to make sure that they're providing the coverage so that they're not personally held liable.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I've even seen boards where they get the insurance quote for what it's going to cost to purchase the coverage, and then because the organization doesn't have the money, they pitch in and purchase it because they're that concerned with protecting themselves.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is always make sure you're protected.
Right.
Another, do your research, do your due diligence, and if they don't have the coverage, talk to your fellow board members about it, explain and educate them why it's important to have that coverage and
Exactly.
chip
So
in
if
and get
anyone has any questions, they could call in or they could reach me at marciabrogan.com and we could go over it. Also, I am a WBE, which is a Women Business Enterprise, and I'm certified in the state, the county, the city, and New York City. So if you're working on a board and you have to meet certain guidelines and you have to meet W and MBE requirements, working with me would give you a great opportunity to provide that coverage and meet your quota and get money towards credits towards your WBE requirement that the state mandates.
Well, that's always a great thing, too. And I know that is definitely something the state's getting stricter on, too, is making sure that all companies are using minority and women-owned business enterprises to
That's correct. That's
fulfill
correct.
some of their needs.
So, Tanya, is there any other part of the directors and officers coverage that we need to bring attention to?
I think the most important part is knowing that there are people out there that tend to lead you to believe that you're protected by the federal government if you serve on a board. But the problem with that is you still have to go in and prove that you met the duty of loyalty, the duty of care, and the duty of responsibility. In order to do that, you have to hire an attorney. So if the coverage isn't there, it's coming out of your own pocket. The bylaws may say that they'll indemnify you in the event of a suit, but if they don't have the money, they're not going to be able to indemnify you.
That's true. And not only that, we all work hard for our money. We put a lot of time and effort to establish ourselves, and we want to give back to the community, which is mostly what not-for-profits are.
Right.
So you're giving back to the community. You don't want to be burned on the other end and having to give up $10,000, $20,000 to help pay for a lawsuit or defense costs. And not only that, the emotional draining that it does on you. I don't know if you have ever been in a lawsuit, but that takes a toll. So now you're dealing with financially, you're dealing with emotionally. How's it going to affect you as your job? That's going to take a toll on your family. So you really need to do your due diligence and double check to make sure that the board you're on does have directors and officers coverage. Tanya, let's just go over some examples to give people something maybe a little bit closer to home so that they could relate to it. Do you have any examples that you could?
Yeah, a great example that I use, and this happened quite a few years ago, was a nonprofit organization in the South Towns. And they were having some financial difficulties, so they started not contributing to the 401ks. They didn't keep current on the health insurance coverages. They were taking money out of funds that they shouldn't have been. So they actually ended up with, because they had to lay people off, they ended up with a D&O lawsuit, an EPL lawsuit, and a fiduciary liability lawsuit. Put them out of business, and I believe it was something like 50 people ultimately lost their jobs.
And all three of those coverages can be purchased under the directors and officers policy.
Correct.
Now, the directors and officers policies start, I know a lot of people are probably thinking, oh, it's really expensive. I'm never going to be able to afford it. It starts about around $1,000, $1,500, but there's a lot of things that go into the pricing of it. It's the number, and Tanya joined me on this, it's the number of board members, it's revenue, what else?
It's the employee count if you're going to be purchasing the employment practices. It is the nature of operations. If you have somebody involved in healthcare, that tends to be a lot, not a lot, that tends to be more expensive. If you have a humane society, that also tends to be a little bit more costly because of the emotional impact that people tend to see if there's an SPCA that is an issue or something like that.
Right.
So it's the type of organization as well.
Now, you mentioned employees. Let's talk about volunteers. How does volunteers play into this?
That's very interesting because a lot of people don't think they have an exposure with the volunteer, but you have the exact same issues with volunteers as you do with employees. You can discriminate against a volunteer and not let them serve on the board. You can get rid of a volunteer because you don't like them. Now they sue you for that. And there's a sexual harassment aspect of it. Volunteers can be sexually harassed as well as any others.
Now, for not-for-profits, and when you have events, your heart are volunteers. People they look for volunteers. 50, 100, 1,000, so many of these. That's how they make things happen. So, as a not-for-profit, you have that kind of exposure. Now,
yes.
What about retaliation? That's huge.
Well, excuse me, ladies. Let me just jump in here because I believe we have a caller or two
wonderful.
callers on the hold. So, caller, if you're there, what's your question or comment? Good morning, caller. Are you there?
Good morning.
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, my name is Sandra, and I just had a question in regards to the directors and officers insurance.
Yes.
If I am on the board and I am a director, and if the organization can't afford for it, am I allowed to get it just for myself as an officer, or do we have to do it for the entire board?
That's a great question.
Go ahead, Tanya.
You really have to do it for the entire board. Years ago, you could purchase your own, but they kind of got away from that because there were some conflicts that only one person's being defended when the entire organization is probably going to be sued.
So the best way to probably go about it is to talk to the board members, like Tanya had suggested earlier. And if the board can't afford it, maybe all the individual ones join forces and purchase it on their own. And then they would list the board members, correct?
Correct.
That was an excellent question. Thank you so
thank
much.
you so much for
Thank
calling.
you so much for calling. Okay, again, are we going to move forward? I believe we have another caller online that's been holding. Caller, what's your question or comment?
Hey, how you doing? I guess you just kind of answered the same question that I was going to ask. But I think one of the things in general, just when you get on the board, a lot of times you're going to have some opposition when you start asking a lot of questions. Do you have this insurance? What do you do to protect your board members? I mean, what is the type of language that you should be using with the board to get this information?
Well, I think just to bring up the directors and officers and talk about the fact that there could be lawsuits happening, and how you, as a board, they want to do their due diligence and protect the board members, and just go through examples of, like, what if this were to happen, or what if that were to happen, because it might seem kind of ominous for them to think, oh, we don't need this. But if you give these real life examples, or people can reach out to me, and I'd be more than happy to come and talk to any boards and talk about their exposure and talk about options to make sure that they have the information and have the coverage. So while you're being kind and generous with your time, you can sleep at night knowing that you are protected. Do you have anything else to add to that, Tanya?
No, I would just add that if a board understands the exposures, then they're going to want to protect you, and they're going to understand why you're asking these questions. So they should be open to you, and if they're not, I think you need to reconsider whether you want to sit on that board or not.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I think
that's
that's
what
the
I was
most important
thinking.
thing I'm hearing too is the education factor. Like, make sure you are educated about, the board you're sitting on, what type of insurance they have place. If they don't, work with the executive director or the president of that board to educate them on the liability that's at hand if they don't have this insurance. And
sometimes they might not even know, or, you get so involved in everything, you think somebody else is taking care of it. And then when it comes right down to it, if you don't want to find out about it after a claim, that is the worst time to realize, oh my gosh, we don't have this insurance. And now we have to hire an attorney. And like I said, there's a lot of aspects to it, not only financial, but emotional and physical. And it does take a toll on you.
so always protect yourself.
That's correct. Ask the
And
questions.
Ask the questions. Well, so listeners, don't go anywhere. This is a great conversation, but we do have to take our quick break. So we'll be right back after this short break. Don't go anywhere. Listen to Western New York at Work on ESPN 1520.
The Buffalo Niagara Business Ethics Award is the premier business ethics award in our region, a business lifetime achievement award that measures success not on profit, but on the bond of trust built with customers, employees, and other businesses. The Buffalo Niagara Business Ethics Award is an award that's not given, it's earned.
This is Scott Beeler of the Wester Auto Group, recipient of the Buffalo Niagara Business Ethics Award. This award confirmed our code of ethics and the manner in which we operate our business, and it validated to our employees the importance of their personal integrity and the value that integrity brings to our company.
Nominate a company today for the 2020 Buffalo Niagara Business Ethics Award, honoring small, mid, and large-sized companies. Chances are you know a well-deserving business. Make your nomination online at buffalobusinessethics.org by October 25th. That's buffalobusinessethics.org. In partnership with BS&P CPAs and Consultants, Niagara University, Business First, and WBEN.
Hello, this is Marcia Brogan of Marcia Brogan Insurance Agency. We help create solutions to take your worries away, and I'm located at 5001 Genesee Street, Buffalo, New York, 14225. You can reach me at 716-684-6000 or marciabrogan.com.
Hi, I'm Lauren Lewis with Staff Buffalo. Staff Buffalo is a certified woman-owned business enterprise. Staff Buffalo is a full-service professional staffing firm providing executive, direct hire, and contract solutions for employers in Buffalo, New York, and the surrounding areas. We specialize in providing our clients with the best candidates for each job, as well as personalized career management solutions to each candidate looking for new opportunities. We love to make people happy. Please check us out at staffbuffalo.com. Staff Buffalo, where Buffalo works.
The Bills make me wanna shout, kick your heels up and
Welcome
shout,
back
throw
to
your
Western New York
hands
at Work on ESPN 1520 AM. It is Bills game day, but it's also Western New York at Work day with our insurance guru, Marcia Brogan of the Marcia Brogan Agency. And we have in studio with us our guest, Tanya Hollader with Russell Bond. And Marcia and Tanya have been really educating us on the importance of directors and officers liability coverage. And, we talked a lot about different things, sexual harassment, the importance of having, boards and executive directors covered so that, they don't get sued in the potential if something happens. But what about retaliation? Can you tell us more about it?
That is a great topic. And I just want to interject. If anybody would like to share this podcast with their board members, they are able to access it at my website. You can just go through marciabrogan.com or Western New York at Work and access the website, access the podcast, and share it with your board members. Sometimes all they need to do is just hear it, and their eyes will be open. So, Tanya, let's go into the retaliation portion.
Yeah, retaliation is a big part of the employment practices lawsuits, especially pregnancy discrimination. That's really on the rise right now. And I personally know somebody that went out on maternity leave. They had talked about what her position was going to be when she came back. She came back and she was terminated 3 weeks later, just for having had a baby. And that can happen with a lot of different areas. It can be that something illegal was discovered, whistleblower type things. We hear that a lot in the news right now.
That's starting to be the real hot topic.
Yep. So I discover something that my company's doing illegally, and I bring it to somebody's attention. And next thing you know, I've been fired because I brought this out. Maybe it's that they're illegally dumping items that they shouldn't be, that they're not putting the money where it's supposed to be.
Disclosing information, hiding facts.
Yep.
And you just tune in on the radio, on the television stations or radio stations, and you hear there's so many attorneys that are specializing in things, and somebody might not necessarily think about it, but all of a sudden they're sitting and they're hearing and like, you know what? Yeah, I could do that. Maybe I should reach out to them, and that's how they get the ball rolling. And nothing is inexpensive. Nothing is inexpensive.
But what I'm hearing here, ladies, is, and correct me if I'm wrong, if an employee recognizes that another employee or officer of the company is doing something illegal, something that's impropriety, and he or she reports it, and then they are terminated as a result. Are you saying that we're starting to see a lot more of that whistleblowing in the common workplace today?
Yeah, that's very prevalent. And I think as you start to see things in the news, like Marcia said, then people look back and say, wait a minute, I know that they weren't properly investing in my 401k. They're putting 2% in instead of 4% to my match, and bring that to somebody's attention. And next thing you know, you don't have a job anymore.
What if it's a sexual harassment or discrimination case?
Same type of issue. If I know that one person in the organization is sexually harassing a certain class or women or
and it could be anything. It could be gender. It could be race. It could be religion. Any type of discrimination can go in. And there's a lot been training going on, so people are getting much more aware of what their rights are and how things are being handled. So these lawsuits are starting to be more prevalent because people are speaking. That's the Me Too movement too. People are speaking out and saying this is not right. And if they speak out and you're not properly protected, and like Tanya said, it's not just what happened today, it's what happened in the past. So you need to be protected, and you need to make sure you do your due diligence and protect your organization and your board.
Yeah, and in fact, there's a local chain restaurant that recently had a sexual discrimination case, and now I think the current management is filing bankruptcy.
Happens a lot. These are very expensive lawsuits that many people don't have a couple $1 million in their fund to fund the defense and indemnity. And another thing to look at, too, with all the talks about vaccinations right now, if I feel I've been discriminated against because it's against my religion to vaccinate my kids, there could be a lawsuit that arises from that. I don't hope to give anybody any ideas.
Wow, I know.
So
they're all
basically,
touchy situations.
Everybody, you really need to be prepared. And especially if you're sitting on a board, all these things, if you're on a medical board, if you're on a health board, if you're on a board just to help the community, you are at risk and you really need to be prepared. Not that we want to scare you, but after all, the title of this is Insurance Nightmares Exposed, so we have to do our due diligence and expose these nightmares.
Well, like I said earlier, I think it really is the education component. Make sure you are educated and aware of what's out there to help you protect yourself, protect your business, protect your finances. But also you want to make sure, if anything does happen, you're in a good situation too.
And if anyone has any questions, like I said, they can reach me at 684-6000 or marciabrogan.com, and I can answer your questions. I can give you information. I could even meet with your boards.
Yes.
Awesome. And Tanya, if anyone has any questions for you, how can they reach you?
I think the best way to reach me would be through Marcia, because
great.
we work with independent insurance agents. We're a wholesale agent, so we don't deal directly with the clients. So Marcia would be the best resource to get to me.
Thank you, Tanya. So if you have any questions regarding any insurance, if you want to sleep better at night so that you could have a glorious day when you wake up, please feel free to reach out to me at marciabrogan.com or Marcia Brogan 716-684-6000.
Okay. Well, Buffalo, you've been listening to Western New York at Work with Dale Martin and Lauren Lewis and Marcia Brogan. Wow, talk about nightmares being exposed. This was a great one.
Definitely. It's definitely something, it opened my eyes. I never realized, how much you can put yourself at risk sometimes just by volunteering or sitting on a board. And, it's...
I think the expression on your face, I know this is radio, but if this was TV, they would have been able to read it. Your eyes opened huge when we were talking about all these exposures.
Yeah.
So it's very enlightening, and I'm glad we were able to bring this to the audience and make them more aware of what's going on.
Absolutely.
Well, for more information to our listeners out there, give Marcia a call or go to our website. Again, you've been listening to Western New York at Work with Dale Martin and Lauren Lewis. Enjoy the game, and we'll see you next Sunday.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Thank you for listening to Western New York at Work, sponsored in part by Lotempio PC Law Group, complete counsel meeting your lifetime legal needs. Dale Martin, Liberty Cab, Accessium Group, your most trusted IT service provider, and other successful business partners.